Sorry for late start. My fault. Uh, Today here we have special guest, new joiner, Michal. Do I pronounce your name correctly?
Close enough. Michał.
Michal. Michal, can you maybe introduce yourself?
Oh, that's a difficult question to start the day with, but I'll try. So yes, I'm Michał, and what do? I'm a civil servant in UK, working with digital data and technology. Um, I'm also very much, as you probably have guessed, interested in open source. I'm one of Open UK ambassadors, and I'm interested especially in open source applications in healthcare.
That's really great. Well, I'm one of Open UK ambassadors as well. I think we could see each other grow because we met each other before we became
Mm.
ambassadors. So yeah, I also do all stuff open source, mostly speak about it. But um, so yeah, how was your day yesterday? Because Michal, you mentioned that you've been to some cool event, right?
Well, recently I've been to quite a few cool events. Obviously, we went both to Open UK awards reception the day before, which was a very interesting event with very interesting speeches about the importance of open source. So I really enjoyed that event. And then yesterday, I went to Let's Do Digital. Let's Do Digital is a fairly small conference about open source and digital technologies in healthcare. It was in Cheltenham, uh, and it was full of clinicians who code. That's what they call themselves, doctors who in addition to treating patients spend some time writing code, very often open source one. And the most important interesting part of that, I suppose, was a debate. As part of a conference, they had a debate with very famous um, professor of computer science, uh, debating with a doctor who codes whether doctors should be coding or not. Um, and I sort of half jokingly said, if there are doctors who code, I want to be a coder who makes incisions, like brain surgery. That's probably going a bit too far, but I think it makes sense. If you want to collaborate, you need to understand each other. Uh, so and that's what that conference was about. It's about bringing people from technology, from digital scene, and doctors together. At the moment, it looks like there are more doctors who code than there are coders who treat patients. Um, now, sort of, I'm not really suggesting doing brain surgeries, but I spend a lot of time volunteering in first aid, crewing ambulances, and I think that that gives me a different perspective to see how code we build, applications we make are used in those circumstances, which in emergency situations which we normally don't see. So yeah, that was my day. Outside of sort of, it was day of delays. We started day late. Hopefully that's not the day. Yesterday I overslept for my train, barely caught it without a breakfast. Then the train was late. Then the conference was late. Then my train going back was cancelled. So I got the train, which was the wrong train. Ended up in the wrong place. The whole day, we started with a small delay, ended up being full of delays. But eventually I got home and here I am. So,
So for
how
those who
about you?
joined late, but we have two people on LinkedIn, I think. So yesterday you've been to event with doctors who actually write open source code, right?
Yes.
Can you maybe share a link to this event or so people could find more? I'm
Uh,
very stream?
Sure, the event is now done, but
Yes, it would be nice.
but there will be another version next year, another edition. I just need to figure out how to share this code. I've never
Uh,
used
we
Restream
have
before.
a chat, like in the bottom, there's a button for chat. So like there's private chat and there's like
Okay,
chat on
I'll
the
find
right.
the link and share it now.
So yeah, so for those who just joined, Michael is working in public services, right? In UK.
Civil service.
Civil service. Sorry, I don't even know like the distinction between them, but and he's like one of the most interested people, open source people I've seen. So Michael keeps speaking how many projects. Well, as I understand, in UK we have we are moving some of civil service projects to open source, right?
That's a topic on itself. I could talk a lot about it, but let's talk about events first. Let's talk about the event
Yeah.
because I know you've been to an event as well.
So yeah, so I'm trying to yeah. So the link below. Let's do digital. So you can research it, and those who see, and that's an example of something you can create locally or something to review and see how you can apply it locally. Yesterday, I've been to the event from Cadurance. 1 second, I'll just type the name of the company. It's called Cadurance. Okay. How do I? Yeah, this way. This is the on. Well, in my life, I've met two XP consultancies, extreme programming ones. So both are great. One is in Estonia, and this one is in. I wanted to say UK, but not anymore. So now they have like 5 offices in UK or something like that. They have one in Manchester, one in London, one in probably Belfast, and they are also in Spain now because they're good. And sorry, just got a message from Open UK actually. And they also run. If you go to their website, they create a lot of really cool events, both online and offline, and they do it consistently. So yesterday they had this new type of event. I haven't seen exact kind from them yet. It was they called it roundtable, but it was more like a mini unconference. So we brought everybody for those who like I don't know if you've been to a conference or not. It's so cool. Basically, what you do, you take stickers and you write there whatever you want to learn or whatever you want to speak about, and you put them on the wall. And then people just add marks there, and the tickets which get most marks, then they get rooms and space, and the people talk about it. So I made 2 tickets. One was of course about open source role in like engineer career, something like this, and it didn't get many marks. But I also made one which was called ChatGPT, like Dev's life is ChatGPT, and it got like
All the marks.
maybe yeah, it's got like it was one of the top 3 tickets, and like basically we had 8 people discussion, and it was quite interesting because we were talking about. Oh, let me actually increase the screen because the pop-ups keep Amanda keeps writing, and I like Amanda so much I cannot stop reading. Amanda is the leader of Open UK for those who are not aware. Amazing person. So, oh, sorry, my allergy is killing me. Just a second. I'm just sorry. Yeah, everything is all the trees decided to kill me. So one of the examples, there were so many examples. So my example was that I use ChatGPT in my daily work, and I use it to unblock me with Gradle because I'm doing some upgrades and the scripts are complicated. And periodically I stumble on something which takes a lot of time. But ChatGPT can explain me what something means. So I can take a script from Gradle website. So I don't I don't well, I'm not allowed, and I wouldn't feel safe anyway to copy the real code into ChatGPT because they have sorry because they will I don't know how they will use it. But I take examples from internet and then I start asking questions. And with Gradle, the thing is that some code which is in Gradle, it's actually like dynamic. Something will be like Maven Java brackets, or Maven Java is actually made of two parts, like Maven Java
Mhm.
and things like that. And I can ask like, what is this Maven Java? So in this case, it's actually an ID. So I'm from Java. I'm not used that you can have Maven Java, then run brackets and something inside, and ID is outside. For me, it's like it's blowing up my brain. But this thing can explain it, and because Gradle docs will be like 800 pages, and the worst problem is that they might not be enough to explain what this thing is,
Mhm.
because Groovy is extremely flexible. Groovy plus Gradle combination is so flexible, and well, it's cool, but not when you're upgrading and you're jumping like 4 versions. Um, but what I really liked was, so people were discussing not as much um, chat, how would I say, not as much direct application,
Mhm.
but the ways to use it. And one of, I think it was Ellen, I think her name is Ellen, she brought an example from United States lately when there was a court and lawyers used ChatGPT to create these documents for the court, for the case. And the judge caught them referring to non-existing court cases in the official doc.
Mhm.
And when like they started investigating, they said, "Well, we use ChatGPT for that to generate the doc. We often do. And when ChatGPT mentioned those court cases, we asked them if those court cases are true, if they really existed, and it said yeah. So when they investigated, apparently ChatGPT knew that in this situation they want to hear yeah, and that will be like most probable. So it answers so because it was most probable
Yes,
answer, not because it was
it
true.
is very interesting, would say, because the ChatGPT answers what you want to hear in most cases,
Yeah,
and there is a lot of discussions around that. But I would love to know about that specific case. So if you remember, um, uh,
yeah. I remember. I've got the contacts of the person, so just DM me afterwards.
mm,
I just don't because I haven't talked to her prior to
yeah,
this call, so
sure,
I'm not sure if I can share her details. Amazing person. I shared the story of, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who told it to me, but maybe it was even at our Open UK event. So basically, a senior developer called junior developer who was using Copilot to write code. Copilot is an AI tool from GitHub, and this junior developer was accepting suggestions from Copilot without understanding or being, and especially without being able to say what this code does.
mm,
And we had a discussion about that because, let's say, 5 years ago, a junior developer, by junior, I mean, well, somebody who just joined IT.
hmm
It can be like, because you can step out of university and be senior developer because you've been doing Open UK for a few days, or for open source for a few years, which is a different discussion.
yeah,
But this developer could go to Stack Overflow and copy paste some code which is already 10 years old by this date, use some EGB2 or something like
mhm,
this, something which is not very used normally these days. And it might even work, but it will be wrong to use this technology for many reasons
mhm,
in his state. But now, but this kind of, so this person would have created damage with a goodwill, but damage to the company. But now this person has such a powerful tool, so he, she, or they can create much more damage now. All you have to do is to press tab. So uh, we were discussing.
yeah,
So my idea is that it's actually ChatGPT didn't appear now. It appeared many thousands years ago.
mm.
Like every new invention, it gives some more power,
Yes, and
and
automation is brilliant at doing the wrong thing very, very fast.
so it just empowers us,
Mhm,
and to be able to use it. So either it will empower us to do good things, or it will empower us to do bad things. And with ChatGPT, as Ellen raised actually, that people these days are not very good in reading. So, and some people also, as I raised, not very good in, well, it's not some, all of us. It's very hard to ask correct questions, and it's not that easy to read them in the right way, to understand that what this yes means and how it all works and what to do with it. It's because Ellen brought cases when people just copy paste stuff. Like ChatGPT said that, there's answer like that. Oh, let's use it. Uh, no, you need to understand the context. You need to understand what you are using this answer, like the code case. I mean, come on. You need to understand because there are specialized AI systems which check stuff for being correct. I hope I've heard of them being developed. So I would.
Oh, there are, and one of the things I'm really interested in are knowledge graphs. I'll show you. So yesterday I was stuck on the trains, and I was talking about reading this book, which is about knowledge graphs. And what knowledge graphs are ways to one of the ways to make knowledge systems which are different, which we can reason about, which can infer new information. And especially when there is already a lot of concrete information, like in law, where you've got specific case law, I think they make much more sense. They are very difficult to work with, but as you say, sort of LLMs, ChatGPT, can help you create those systems which are more robust and safer if you want to use them in a court case, for example.
Oh, we have friend in chat, Satyam Pandey, and so namaste, Satyam. If it's the right language to use, because there's so many languages, we have so many friends around the world, and he's asking a very good question, which is not AI related, or maybe. So Satyam is asking how to start open source as a front-end developer. So I have a task for Satyam right now. So Satyam, if you know how to use open source, how to use ChatGPT, if you could go there and ask it and just post the answer in Twitter and mention myself and just as a tweet, so I can see a bell that you've written it, or you can DM me, and I will retweet it because we have so many people who are interested in this question, and also so many people who not know answer. So my suggestion will be find the community.
So, so I don't see the question. So, is the question how to start contributing, or
Open
how to start
source.
a new open source project? Because there was also
How to start open source as front end developer. So there are two things here. So normally I would ask like, so happens what? Like, what is your end goal? But so let's assume it's to get a job. So probably Satyam is a student or a graduate. So so when people want to find a job, what I tell them to do, like because ChatGPT it was an intro. It's a good content. I suggest you still ask it and post the answer, but nothing beats humans in this one because it's gray area. So my suggestion would be if you want to get a job, then imagine that everything worked, and in 5 years' time you are principal somewhere. So find those principal positions on LinkedIn in the area where you live or remote, but something like which exists. Like find 3 of them, like in LinkedIn, put to each other, and take I don't know this yellow marker and highlight every open source technology they mention and then try to understand. So these are the positions you really like, that like the best in the market, like principal developer, serving competitive like good salary, doing all the fun, going to conferences and stuff. So check which open source technologies they mention. And now let's find. So let's say I don't know, they mention Elasticsearch, right? 2 of them out of 3, and then okay, go to the Elasticsearch website and join there. I think they have a Discord, and ask how to help. And tell them that you are a front-end developer, because you mentioned you want to become, probably you want to become a front-end developer. So you'll be searching on LinkedIn for principal front-end, if it exists. Oh, sorry, this allergy. And just 1 second. Sorry, there are some special trees over there.
Or is that the plant
Um,
behind you?
no, it's actually paper. So my friend, she really likes design, and it's a wallpaper.
Mm.
Uh, in some countries they use it a lot. In some countries they don't use it at all. Oh, this allergy. So check which open source projects the companies who hire for principal front end engineers care for. Or another option would be to yeah. So for example, it might be React, which is also open source. So join these communities and ask them how you can help. The problems with things like React and Elastic, although I mean they're great and a good place to start. The problem there is that they are big, and the tickets there might be complicated. So, but still. So, for example, let's go React. So you'll go there, and so I have people who come to project and say, "Oh, I want to do Java. I want to do that." Now, what I suggest doing is come and ask how you can help most, and tell them about your current skills. And for example, they might tell you, "Can you help us with documentation?" And later it will become, "Can you help us with maintenance?" And it might look like, oh, maintenance, but actually maintenance is the most important part of an open source project, because contributors, they're great, but some of them come and go, and you're the one who's responsible for now React. How many front-end engineers who will be applying to positions, online, offline, any of them, principal, junior, especially junior and mids, how many of them, even principal actually, how many principals in the world are responsible for maintaining React? So the probability, so you will stand off, and of course you won't be just maintaining. You'll be, sorry, you will be, for example, interviewing people. You'll be checking the code. You will have direct access to ask your questions about React to people who know React most. You'll be sharing their examples. You'll be reviewing. For example, you can review the latest features from React and make streams about this stuff. You can start your own stream with Michal or somebody else, or you can come to us actually. You can join our open source friends, and you can stream about React, because so for example, I already know that Michal would really like to join to our to Loftwa. Is it David from Australia, who knows so much about open source and especially AI, so he knows it on the code level. So they will have a really nice discussion. So I hope that answers your question, but I suggest that you start with ChatGPT, post it there, what you, maybe you can write an article or a tweet about what my answer was today, what your question was, mention my name, and let's start discussion on Twitter. And also, the community doesn't end with these companies. There's also a community which is open source community, generally speaking. So, for example, Adi Jaude, Kunal, sorry, his name. I don't want to insult him, so I would rather read up his name next time. Kushwalha, is it? So they constantly run Twitter Spaces on like general open source, so not like React specific. So you can join there for feel good, but you start with answering why do you need it, because people come to me and they say I want to do open source, and I'm like, nope. Even I don't just want to do open source. I want to do open source because a lot of people currently, my goal is a lot of people are unemployed, and I want them to get jobs. And for example, in security, and I believe that there's not I believe, I know that there are jobs in security, what IT security. But the problem with jobs in security in IT is that they need experienced people, and open source is what gives them experience and connections, not just experience, connections. So open source, if you do it right, it's not working for free. It's getting amazing experience and amazing connections, and making a change where it matters. Uh, so in let's say you're in React, so you choose what you do. You cannot do it at work, not always. And also the last point of this triangle is AI. So I'm trying to understand how to combine open source, security, and AI to help people get jobs. So for example, so that's why I do open source these days, to help people with jobs and to help people with education. But jobs is a priority now because of the crisis. So you need to understand what you need, because if it's a job, then we need to work from the job boards. If it's for fun, we need to work from slightly different angle. So you can join open source friends actually. Just DM me, I'll give you a Discord link. And Michal, I'm not sure if I gave you one, but I'll give you one as well.
No, I don't think. Well, I don't think I joined the Discord, so maybe I should.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what you say, the purpose of open source. So, and it touches on something we said we'll discuss later: the civil service, public sector, and open source. Uh, because you can get a job, and to some extent it's also that reason you can get a job in public sector when you do open source. But also, if you do open source for public sector, you contribute to services which then make life better, hopefully for many people. So that's also a reward in a sense. Obviously, you need to have food first, but that's also very rewarding. And you said that civil sector, civil service. Actually, you said you don't really know what's the difference between public sector. So public sector, I think, is slightly wider. Civil service is a UK specific thing. That's an organization that supports the government to implement what the government wants. It's staffed with civil servants, people who do policy, code, all sorts of things. Public sector is slightly wider. For example, National Health Service here in UK is not part of civil service, but it's also a public service, right? So it's not only recently that we've been doing some open source. In fact, in UK, I think it was 2010, maybe 11, when there was a very famous letter sent about from Dame Lane Fox, I believe, who said what we have in terms of digital service provision is not good enough. We need revolution, not evolution, of services. And government digital service was started, which came up with principles how software should be done in and for government and public services. It's called GDS, for Government Digital Services Service Standard, and it talks a lot about working the open and the need for open source, because effectively we are spending public money. So why should we be creating software which is closed? We should be building software which is open, because not only you solve the problem you want to solve right now, you allow others to reuse your code. And others is not only other departments, other agencies, but also private enterprise, individuals. Why not? it's the software paid for by the taxes, so it should be free for people who pay the taxes. And also, as with any open source, you get the benefit that you build something, somebody else takes it, adds to it, and then you can take it back and use the better version of your own product effectively. So yes, it's not only recently, and there is a lot of open source. The challenge is, how do you reuse open source? And I think that goes back to the question slightly differently. I understood the question is, how do you get involved in open source? How do you choose a project? The challenge is there are so many open source projects. How do you choose one to contribute to? If it's a job, then yes, that's a very clear strategy. But if you want to do it, you already have a job, and perhaps you want to contribute to something meaningful for you, it might not be exactly your job at the moment. How do you do that? And the challenge is everywhere. And I think Open UK recent series of talks touches about that. It's about community. It's about spreading the information, about building those communities around. Recently, we've been looking at open source in UK government. So far, and I'm sure that that's not all, but we found close to 17,000 open source repositories. Most of them don't show any signs of reuse, and many of them solve the same problem. So that's a problem in itself. We've got a lot of tiny little projects that do the same thing, and nobody knows about them. So we need to find ways to communicate better, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I'll have to finish soon, like 5 minutes. But I really like that. So again, it's finding one of the problems is so answering your why, because it's very easy to it's not that easy to find the right project. Even if you use if you go to GitHub and you use topics to search for, let's say, React, you'll find the most known project. But if you're into robots development, then robotic development for kids, for example, then maybe you don't want the most famous project. Maybe you want something smaller. And so for open source in civil services, we had a very nice discussion with, well, actually, Sal Kimmich was sharing the experience, the expertise, not experience, expertise. So Sal Kimmich, they are they are an expert in security. So Sal was saying that, speaking things, when you make a project open source, you have more eyes on it. And for security, it's crucial, because what already has happened, as I said multiple times, is, let's say, somebody has found a vulnerability in a civil service of UK. And the government of the country where this person lives approaches him or special services, and they say, well, let you not raise a ticket for this thing. And now let's say there are 2 or 3 people in the world who know about this vulnerability, and they might even live in the same country, and they've been approached by special service, and the ticket has not been raised because this country wants to have an edge on, for example, British civil services in case when they need it.
It's an interesting point, but it makes you more careful, I suppose. But also, you always will have bad actors, and the hope is that there are more good actors than bad actors. But also, of course, not all services government is using are open source and are in the public. There are restrictions. We are talking here about the services which are built to support the citizens in non-critical scenarios.
So this example was actually about closed source. But now, if we have open source, we'll have thousands eyes on it. So it's just a question of time when it might become public much more faster, and people from different countries will spot it.
Yeah.
So there's a hope there. But now I really have to go because my friends are waking up, so there will be a lot of noise now. So, Michal, is there anything you want? I suggest we start doing, well, we are doing it regularly. I'm not sure if we're doing something on Sunday, but I'll send you a link for Discord to join and we can like check when is the next time.
Yeah,
And
let's do that. And
because,
I guess I'll see you next week at another event. So that's some advertisement we could do. There is, if you
oh,
happen to be in London, there is Open UK meetup. Is it Thursday, Wednesday,
uh,
22nd? It's definitely the 22nd.
let's see. Yeah, should be Thursday then, I think. And
I think
also,
you're right. It's Thursday, 22nd, and this is Open UK in London at 6 p.m. We meet.
yeah, and also on 1 second, I'll just check my calendar because there's another event which is on so yeah 22nd is Thursday, and maybe you can share a link, and I will share it, and I will try to find the link. There is a DevSecCon 2023, which is happening on the 27th, which is a free online conference supported by Sneak, and it will be on the 27th. And it's good. It's like really good, and it's free and it's online. So just go there, friends. Okay, Mikhail, thank you so much. So now let's do the OpenK one. So that's on the 22nd. So that's for those who are in London, or you at least you can like read about it. That will be a big one. We'll have
And actually, it's
open
online
the.
as well.
Is it?
I think so. So,
Oh,
so far, all of them were also streamed.
yeah, and it will have Kunal there and other leaders like. Uh, so it will be big. It's like really big. So I really suggest everybody to check it out. And now when I know that, I will double check if it's online, because if it is, then I'll definitely create more content because it deserves all the.
Mm.
Oh, thank you, Anjali. Nice to see you here as well. So, so Anjali, as you can see, there's an event happening on the 22nd of June, and we hope it will be online. It's Open UK panel discussion with the leaders. So one of them you definitely know, it's Kunal. So yeah, so I'll learn more about this event because I have thought about it as myself, but I need to think about it as my friends from around the globe and see how I can share better.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Michal, today.
Well,
And,
thanks for the chat. Thanks for having me here. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the Discord chat as well. Have a good day, guys.
thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
And when you click end stream, we still will be able to speak. It's